US Senator Bernie Sanders is on his Fighting Oligarchy Tour across American states. He believes that people are frustrated with the current political system, and let's just look at some of his best moments.
How can I get by on one house? I need 5 houses.
I own 3 residences. Yeah, I do.
I need jet planes to take me all over the world.
Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that.
Sorry, the American people. We've got the money. We've got the power.
Guess what? I'm a United States Senator.
Earlier in the year, it was revealed he spent more than $200,000 on private jets during the first quarter of 2025. Let's take a look.
You know, Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No, it doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
His tour is about fighting oligarchy, but of course scoffs at the idea of not flying private. But it's interesting, Bernie Sanders called out former Vice President Kamala Harris and slammed her failed election campaign, saying that she had too many billionaires telling her not to speak up for the working class. Look at this.
One of the reasons, in my view, that Kamala Harris lost this election is she had too many billionaires telling her not to speak up for the working class of this country.
He then doubled down on this claim during an interview on CNN. And before I get to more of CNN's coverage on this, Elizabeth, can I get your reaction to Bernie Sanders fighting for oligarchy tour and, of course, his criticism of Kamala Harris?
Yeah, so a few things. First of all, I think it's laughable that he's criticizing Kamala Harris and her campaign, which, yes, was a joke. But I believe Bernie Sanders also ran for president a few times and didn't end up doing too well. So I don't know if he has any right to criticize anyone else, especially in his failing party that wants to point the finger at everyone but themselves. Now, on the plane thing, I'm actually personally offended. I was on the campaign trail last year. We weren't always on President Trump's plane, which, by the way, unlike Bernie, he bought himself. Everyone should be aware of that. But we weren't always on his plane. We were very often on commercial flights, very often more than 2 or 3 in one day. Nobody was sleeping. The last, I think, few months of the campaign, I was in a different state every day. And I've seen people that I campaigned with, people like Laura Trump, by the way, who everyone can talk about as much as they want. But I have seen Laura Trump, that woman, my friend, who was on a Delta flight, a United flight, a Spirit flight, in a middle seat very often, trying to hit every single state that she could during the last few months of the campaign. So there's absolutely no excuse for anything that he's claiming, and no excuse for this behavior, by the way, which is so not relatable, especially for the message that he claims to believe in.
Absolutely. Well, let's look at how CNN covered this tour. CNN's Dana Bash sat down with Bernie Sanders for an interview where she complimented him so much he was almost blushing and he was giggling, and she compared him to the Pope. Look at this.
Something that I'm sure you have seen, a Gallup poll. Did you see this Gallup poll?
Yeah.
And what the Gallup poll found was that you are one of the most widely admired Americans, and I believe you're only second to the Pope.
You want me to declare my candidacy for Pope? Is that what you're asking?
I don't think that you're eligible for a lot of reasons.
Then I won't do that.
I watched you tonight. I've watched you for a very, very long time. You're obviously still full of vigor and intensity for the things that you're passionate about and have been for decades. Is there another presidential run in you?
Oh, God. Let's not worry about that. I am going to be 84 years of age next month, as a matter of fact.
Oh, it's just embarrassing. Elizabeth, what did you make of this?
I mean, it's classic Democrat behavior, right? When has Donald Trump ever sat and been fawned over like this? Not to mention, I've seen a lot of polling showing Donald Trump being extremely popular. Nobody ever talks about it like this. In fact, they actually laugh at it and try to mock his supporters, which is the reason they continue to lose. But again, Bernie Sanders ran for president and it didn't work. So he's obviously not that popular with the people of this country. And that's, I think, what should matter to him.
JD Vance has declared that a lot of people are about to get indicted over Russiagate. He believes that the recent disclosures from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is evidence of a gross violation of the law. This, of course, comes after Tulsi Gabbard alleged that documents show the Obama administration promoted a contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Here's JD Vance.
You don't just indict people to indict people, you indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law.
The Vice President was pretty clear there. What can we expect?
Well, look, I'm hopeful that we see some kind of movement on this. I think too many times people get excited about something and then it doesn't happen because the government can't always deliver for the American people like we want it to. At the same time, I think JD Vance is right. He's the vice president of the United States. He's seeing this evidence in front of him of what went on that should never have happened, that should never be allowed to happen in the United States of America. And he's saying we have to do something about it so that it never happens again. The fact is he's not wrong. A lot of people have questions about what happened in 2016. And it's actually not just people who voted for Donald Trump. It's not just us that think that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton actually did conspire to hurt him and make sure that the American people were hurt as well. It's actually folks that voted against him, that believed the Russia hoax, that have no idea why millions of United States tax dollars were spent. And it turned out, obviously, that Donald Trump did not collude with Russia. It turned out they spent every single I guess you could say weapon, unfortunately, at their disposal to try to turn this country upside down, ruin 4 years of Donald Trump's term, and obviously use only the American tax dollar and the energy of the American people to do so. It's actually shameful whether you're talking about those who are Republican or Democrat, because what they did impacted every single person in this country in a negative way. So I'm hoping we see something come out of this investigation because we deserve answers and people deserve to know what was done by their own elected officials against this country.
Absolutely. Finally, JD Vance also appears to have extended an olive branch to Elon Musk. After revealing that he didn't think that the Tesla CEO would take his call, JD Vance said that he does want Elon to come back to the MAGA movement by the midterms.
My argument to Elon is, like, you're not going to be on the left, right? Even if you wanted to be, and he doesn't, they're not going to have you back. That ship has sailed. And so I really think it's a mistake for him to try to break from the president. So my hope is that by the time of the midterms, he's kind of come back into the fold. But yeah, I don't know that he would take my call right now about anything.
Really?
I'm sure he would. I kid. I'm sure he would take my call. But obviously, the drama around him in the White House over the last couple of months. Again, my hope is that just kind of cools down a little bit because he did help us a lot in the election. The president even says all his frustration. Elon was a very, very critical part of the team last election, and so my hope is by the midterms, things are kind of back to normal.
Right.
Yeah.
That would
we'll
be
see.
nice.
We'll see.
I was going to.
Elizabeth, is this a good idea, or do you think there's potentially too much chaos around Elon?
You know, I think when your country is at stake, all that chaos kind of goes out the window. The fact is Elon Musk was not a Republican. I think he was a strong Democrat for quite some time, and he only threw his support behind President Trump in the summer before the election, right? A few months out after President Trump was unfortunately shot at. It took something as chaotic as that for him to say, hey, at this point in time, we have one choice to make. We have Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and this is my pick. And I think when the midterms roll around, it's going to be the exact same thing. The fact is he's not going to have a new party that's going to, make some kind of groundbreaking movement in these midterms. He's going to have a choice to make, and that's Democrat or Republican. And I believe regardless of what chaos Elon Musk, Donald Trump, JD Vance have between them, when you think about the country, you make the right choice. And I believe Elon Musk is going to go out and make the same choice that he made in 2024 in that presidential election, because it's not about personal relationships for him. He's too successful to think that way. It's about the future of this country.
Elizabeth Pitko, thanks so much for your time. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.